Is wokeness really ruining gaming? This is an extremely polarizing topic and honestly has been for the better part of the last decade, but does either side of the debate have any merit at all? If I'm being blatantly honest with you, the answer to this question is it depends. Some people feel and act like wokeness, which is a loose adjective describing a certain set of social and political beliefs that we will define later, doesn't even exist in the first place and has no effect on media and gaming as a whole. People with this belief often label the other side as nothing but racist homophobes and disregard the larger concept of an issue. Some on the other side of the debate believe that wokeness is truly ruining gaming for anyone that isn't a black woman. This side, however, often has the issue of labeling everything that isn't the norm as woke no matter what. All of this can be confusing, so first we'll actually define the term woke, as many believe there is no actual definition for it. So, woke. The awareness of social issues like racism, sexism, or homophobia with the motivation of change. Obviously, woke is an outdated term, but using it to describe a person still isn't that bad because most modern people are woke to some degree. However, the issue is applying this adjective to a game itself. When a game goes out of its way to be aware of social issues, it just can and mostly does detract from actual important aspects of game development like, story or fun gameplay for the sake of pushing the creator's ideas onto the player. Example of these ideas would be the importance of diversity, LGBT involvement, and feminism. Now, stick with me for a moment. You may be thinking, Protophile, you absolute loveless chud, how can you act like diversity and women's rights are a bad thing? Well, this is where both sides of the argument kind of misunderstand each other because the people who believe that wokeness can be a problem don't think it always is, or at least the ideas and intentions behind it most of the time. What I mean by that is no one here is saying diversity is a bad thing, it's just forced into places where it shouldn't be. Recently, diversity has really been pushed in gaming though, and it just makes the companies behind these games feel soulless most of the time. Let's take Dead by Daylight for example. A few years ago, Dead by Daylight announced that they were going to add their first gay character, David King. The problem to me, however, is the fact that they just kind of slapped the gay label on this character that had existed in the game for years with no indication whatsoever of them being gay beforehand. I feel like this was not only lazy because they could have, just made their next character gay, but it's also just pandering as people had been accusing the devs of being homophobes for some reason because they just hadn't added a gay character yet and probably felt forced to. The whole situation just does not sit right with me and is a good example of woke ideas negatively affecting the game. On the flip side, however, they recently added a black character and people labeled this as being woke and a problem. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with just including a black person in your game that's not even woke at all. And this right here is a good example of people labeling the wrong things as woke, or problems in the first place, diminishing the credibility of the entire argument as a whole. Sticking with the topic of diversity for a second, let's discuss the infamous Blizzard race tier list. Okay, so this situation is a lot more complicated than the last one, but it is one of the best examples of how woke ideas can negatively impact a game, your experience playing it, and the company behind it as a whole. A couple years ago, the first shreds of controversy surrounding Blizzard were coming to light, which if you aren't familiar, just imagine the most depraved things that can possibly happen in an office setting, and you probably aren't too off the mark. To combat a lot of this completely deserved negative attention, the higher-ups did a lot to maintain their company's reputation. One of these things was announcing and publicizing their use of a digital tool/chart that rated every character's diversity like a test score to see if they should be added into the game. Just to be clear, Blizzard deleted most stuff revolving around this, so all the information we have was leaked or archived because this just got them even more negative feedback. Let's take a look here. This character is a woman, plus 3 points. This character is a man, yeah, no points for you. This character is gay, well, plus 7 points. This character is straight, no points earned. This character is an Egyptian Arab, oh amazing, 6 points earned. This character is a white American, well, that's not diverse at all, no points. You get the idea. This whole thing is extremely dehumanizing for several reasons. Why are some races ranked above others like they're better? Where did these arbitrary numbers come from in the first place? Why does any of this matter? A lot of people defend this by saying it was never actually used, which I find hard to believe considering all the work that went into this shit, or they say that it's just supposed to be a diverse game due to the story and has nothing to do with DEI, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, we are literally saying black is better than white in graph form. Also, this situation gets even worse somehow. Looking into the data, it seems like Soldier 76, who was announced as gay years after launch, had a similar situation to that gay character from Dead by Daylight because he isn't listed as gay here, indicating that making him gay was never meant to happen during his initial design which is pretty funny to me because the devs themselves and a small group of brain-dead fans try acting like this has always been the case for him. Almost like they couldn't have one of their star characters be a basic white guy, man. I really could make this whole story into its own video because it is an absolute mess for several reasons, but after all that ranting, you get the point. We had discussed when woke ideas can negatively affect the game, but when are they positive? Okay, well, the thing is, okay, in absolute fairness, depending on how far you're willing to stretch the definition of woke, it's hard for it to be a positive thing because the game needs to have one of these ideas as one of its main themes, or common themes, which any gamer playing modern games right now will tell you is not an easy thing to do, right, apparently. You really need to be subtle and not in your face with your political ideology, or even the people on your side will be against you. What I'm saying is wokeness is not always a bad thing and can even be a good thing, but most of the time it's not done correctly whatsoever. But again, it can still be accomplished. For example, Detroit Become Human is an absolute masterpiece, but is at the same time an absolutely woke game, no ifs, and or buts. The whole game is an in-your-face allegory for racism, but is still done excellently while the message is still clear and concise. This is done in several ways, like using a story that has the same idea as a societal issue but with fictional framing. They didn't use the niggas in the 1960s as their protagonists, they used robots, but the message is still the same as if they did. It really is about subtlety. No one outright says, this is just like the black people. This very specific societal issue is just like the issue many races face today, and the people opposed to them being people just like us are bad and just the same as the racists. Because it didn't need to. The game allows the player to choose, which is also an extremely important aspect of the nuance a game needs to effectively give a message. Honestly, when I was playing, I was like, fuck, I might be racist because I don't think robots are equal to people, but again, the game doesn't tell you that that opinion is wrong. Same thing for a game like Night in the Woods, which is riddled with gay characters and anti-establishment dialogue, but again, it is subtle and tasteful. The gay couple, for example, just help reinforce the entire town's theme of desolateness and feeling all alone in a situation which you are trapped in. The rebel, nonconformist dialogue at the end of the day is coming from a college dropout loser, so can you really take them seriously? Honestly, yeah, you can, because the game doesn't make things black and white. You can agree or disagree with what is being said, but that decision is ultimately yours to make. A lot of developers make the mistake of making their characters who align with their views way too perfect because they can't really fathom anyone who disagrees with them to have a shred of thought or humanity, so they just make their characters angelic. Get this, these games don't need a cast of gay black midget characters traveling back in time to kill Mega Hitler to show their creators' views and ideas. Sounds far-fetched, but look at most games we have nowadays, man. It really does come down to if the devs really care about virtue signaling to get good boy points with the media and higher-ups, or if they genuinely care about what they have to say. On another note, I think it's clear that woke ideas can detract from a game, but can they actually ruin it? Can the creators' views and the message they push in their game really make all the players leave and find something new? Not really, at least not most of the time, but normally a woke game is plagued with the issues of modern game releases, so you know. For a game like Concord, which flopped for many reasons, it most likely was a fairly big problem. A big part of why you buy a game is because of the promotional material you see before you even know it exists and what you see online of other people playing/discussing it. When you see hideous characters mixed with boring ass gameplay, then that just leads to an absolute disaster. Wokeness was half of the equation here because there is a very loud vocal minority who think that you need to have every single type of human alive for, I don't know, showing everyone you don't align with any word ending in ist or phobic. You just want 10 out of 10 fine ass women in every game you play, you anti-feminist pick. No, absolutely not. But does every character need to be scale shattering or a literal fucking troll? Appealing to your audience is actually really important, and 99.9% of people just don't want to play as whatever this is. Side note. At the end of the day, a large amount of this stuff in games is just pandering because the companies think it will make their, brand look better or make the most money. Look at all these companies that change their profile pictures for Pride Month. Pay close attention to the accounts they leave out. In conclusion, a game doesn't need a gay character by default. They don't need a straight character by default. Whatever allows the creator to truly express their vision in the form of a game that is compelling and extremely fun to play, let them do whatever they want. If you do want your game to display your viewpoints and have a message that aligns with that, which it doesn't always need to, do it subtly and tastefully. Stop letting these companies get away with corporate pandering and instead force gaming back to its roots, where only fun and a good story matter at the end of the day. I hope you enjoyed and changed your mind a little. Have a good one, and goodbye.